Well, today we're going to wrap up solving one-step equations by solving one-step equations that include division. So far we've learned how to add, subtract, and multiply. So today we're going to solve equations that have division as their main operation. So today's goal, students will be able to use inverse operations to solve an algebraic equation containing division. All right, so here, go back one. Here's your strategy stretcher for today. Again, give this a try before the lesson and see what you can do. Strive for 5, get as close as you can, and then you're going to give it another try. After the lesson, you'll add to what you did before the lesson and see if you can get closer to 5. Here's the problem. 4 friends decided to share the cost of a gift for their dance teacher. After dividing the cost by 4, each friend's share is $25. What was the total cost of the gift? So go ahead and pause, give that a try. Do 2 strategies if you can. Otherwise, start with 1 and see if you can add 1 later on. All right, so I want you to think as we get started here about this. First of all, let's review, and I want you to write down from memory if you can. What are the 3 steps or rules to solving an algebraic expression or equation? Let's change that. Okay. What are the 3 steps or rules to solve an algebraic equation? So I want you to pause, see if you can think of what those might be, and then unpause the video to see if you are correct. All right, so how'd you do? Hopefully you came up with isolate the variable, which is our goal, use inverse operations, and keep that balance. Even as you get into high school algebra, these are your basic rules that you need to keep in mind to solve any equation. So for example, if to solve 4 plus x equals 10, you undo the addition. You use the inverse of addition, which is subtraction, and use that inverse operation. You're going to subtract 4 from the side with x. But again, we have to keep the balance. So since we took away 4 from that side, you're going to take away 4 from the other side as well. The 2 sides have to be the same as each other. If you take away from one without the other, you're going to tip that balance. So let's predict. What will we do to solve x divided by 3 equals 9? Remember that this fraction bar is also a division sign. So we're not going to read it as x over 3 or x thirds, but read it as x divided by 3. So I want you to make a prediction. How could we undo the division to isolate that variable and get x by itself? So go ahead and write down what your prediction is and then unpause the video. All right, what I'm hoping that you were able to come up with is actually the lesson for today. So in order to undo division, we know that we're going to need to multiply. We've practiced that. We know that the inverse or opposite of division is multiplication. So that's a good place to start. And then we divided by 3, so we're going to multiply by 3. The opposite of dividing by 3 is multiplying by 3. So that's what we're going to do to this side. Now, if we multiply this side by 3, that means we have to multiply the other side by 3 as well. So I'm going to rewrite this a little bit larger, and I'm going to show you kind of an easy way to document what we're doing. It's a way to show our work, but it doesn't take much time, and it keeps your thinking straightened out. So what we're going to do is just use a dot, because as we've learned, using an x here can be confusing when we're doing algebra because that looks a lot like our variable x. So we're going to use the dot, and we're just going to say times 3. Now what's implied here is that it's times 3 over 1 because this is written as a fraction right now. So you could say times 3 over 1, but this really isn't necessary to write here, but just so that you know, that's why we're putting this 3 on top and this one's on the bottom. All right, so Again, the opposite of divide by 3 is times 3. So we're just going to cancel out again and just draw that line diagonally. As you can see, really quick. Just a dot and a 3 and cross it out. Because we multiplied this side by 3, we're going to do the same thing over here. Again, do your dot for the multiplication sign and a 3, and then we're ready to solve. All we have left over here now is that x, drop down the equal sign, and over here 9 times 3 equals 27. Let's go ahead and substitute that in, and let's see if it works. So if I put a 27 instead of this x, substitute it, take the place of, let's go ahead and try it and see if it works. 27 divided by 3 does in fact equal that 9 that we started out with. All right, moving on. Let's go ahead and do our notes for this. So your heading today is division equations. Please write that down. Again, our goal is to isolate the variable to get x by itself. Same goal that we've had the last couple of lessons. Go ahead and do your t-chart, example explain. Your example today is x divided by 7 equals 6. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's do the problem and then we'll write down the steps that we did. So the opposite of divide by 7 is going to be times 7. So I'm just going to write it out like that. And then over here, I have to keep the balance, and I'm going to do times 7 over here. This over here cancels out. And you can see I have it down here. So this is canceled out. My 6 times 7, I'm going to solve, and I get 42. So all I have left over here is the x, drop the equals, and 42 over here. Same steps as we've had before. First of all, use inverse operations. The opposite of x divided by 7 is to multiply by 7, and keep the balance. If I multiply one side by 7, I must also multiply the other by 7 so that they remain equal or the same as each other. Third, of course, we're just going to solve. So x is equal to 42. All right, so here's the story problem that you looked at earlier. 4 friends decide to share the cost of the gift for their dance teacher. After dividing the cost by 4, each friend's share is $25. What is the cost of the gift? So here's a diagram that you can take a look at. So you can see here just a little peek at a more visual strategy, which maybe you had thought of before, where n is the total cost of the gift. And then we know that if we divide that total cost of the gift by 4, $25 per person, and so that equals 25 here. So the question is, what number divided by 4 is going to equal 25? And then you can see that we're simply going to multiply both sides by 4 and get 100. All right, let's try a few of these problems down here quickly. Let's do our quick and short way to show our work. So again, I'm just going to write next to divide by 2 times 2 and cross it out, times 2 over here. So n is equal to 50 times 2, or 100. N divided by 10 equals 2. So let's do times 10 and times 10. This is going to cancel out. We're left with n equals 2 times 10, which is 20. Now we have n on the other side, which is just fine. We have n divided by 3. The opposite of divide by 3 is times 3. Cross it out. And then times 3 over here. N is going to be equal to 3 times 20, which is 60. N divided by 7. The opposite is times 7. Cross it out. Times 7 over here. N is equal to 5 times 7, or 35. All right, let's try a few more problems. Let's start with the problem of the day. If 11 is 4 less than 3 times a number, what is the number? Now that seems confusing, but let's just break it down. I'm going to think through this. If 11 is 4 less than 3 times a number, whenever you hear that a number, let's assign that a variable. Let's call it x. So we know we have 3 times a number, or x. So I'm just going to write 3x. 11 is, that's a keyword or a tricky word where I recognize that that means equals. So 11 is 4 less, or we could say 11 is equal to 4 less. So I'm going to put the 11 over here. Let's read again. If 11 is 4 less than 3 times a number, so it's going to be 4 less than 3 times a number, what is that number? Now, most of you aren't going to get to doing a two-step equation like this, but some of you might. What we have here is just a two-step equation. So first we're going to get rid of the minus 4, which is plus 4. And if you're not with me here, that's okay. Don't worry about this. This is an extension. So since I added 4 to this side, I need to add 4 to this side, giving me 15 over here and 3x here. Then you can see x is still not alone. I have x times 3, so we're going to divide by 3, and now I have x equals 5. So again, that's a two-step problem that was a little bit more challenging. If you didn't get it, that's okay. If you did, fantastic. All right, go ahead and try the rest of this quiz and see how you do, and then go ahead and play. All right, I'm going to be giving you the answers now, so if you're not ready, make sure that you pause it and do the problems first, but otherwise, here we go. All right, so number 1, x is equal to 70. Number 2, x is equal to 32. 3, x is equal to 99. And 4, x is equal to 105. So if you got any of those wrongs, go ahead and stop, look at the work that I showed. Let's take a look at the story problem. It's always more challenging, a great challenge to have to apply a problem and a strategy. So the area of Sherry's flower garden is 1/4 the area of her vegetable garden. I read one sentence at a time and I write or draw whatever I can. So you can see I drew her vegetable garden. Since the flower garden's 1/4, I know that that's the smaller one. So I drew a square that I thought would be about a fourth. I put a V in for vegetable and an F for flower. And then I'm going to keep reading. The area of the flower garden is 17 square feet. So I wrote equals 17 feet squared. Let X represent the area of her vegetable garden. I think I'm going to use V because that makes more sense to me. Find the area of her vegetable garden. So I know that V, and then I know that if I divide that by 4, so I'm going to do V divided by 4 is going to be equal to the flower garden, and I know that the flower garden is 17 square feet. So that's how I can write my equation. So the vegetable garden divided by 4 is going to equal 17 feet squared, or the area of the flower garden. Then I can simply solve this equation. We're going to multiply this side by 4 to cancel that out, and multiply 17 by 4. Here's a great opportunity to use that distributive property. 7 times 4 is 28. And then 4 times 10 is 40. And then we'll simply add those back together and get 68. Now don't forget to label 68 feet squared. All right, for this slide, I would like you to go ahead and make up your own 4 problems where x divided by something is going to be equal to something. And then I would like you to have a partner try to solve those, and your partner can create some for you. Otherwise, go ahead and just create some and then try to solve them yourself. All right. On your own or with a partner, you're going to try a couple of story problems. And then also your activity today is going to be to practice a mixed bag of solving equations. So you're going to read the directions. You're going to pause the video, get a partner. I'm going to give you 10 problems. For each one, you have 10 seconds. You get 1 star for getting the correct answer before the time is up. You get 2 stars if you beat your partner. So here is the answer sheet, or the sheet that you're going to use to be writing down the equations and solutions and keeping track of your stars. So I will be doing this on the next video for you. So when you are ready, go ahead and play that next video, and good luck.